the beginning, you're relaxing. But when you get into it, you're changing your vibrational state. This is where the power comes in, and it takes time and patience, and don't be frustrated if you don't get it in a week or even a month. But when you get there, you're gonna be unstoppable. It's really a game changer for health, vitality, balance, healing, you name it. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Good Gut Feeling podcast, where we digest modern medicine with old world wisdom. Today, another exciting topic. I think it'll really help you understand and really get to the bottom of how important mindfulness is and how powerful our mind is in creating health. Just a quick order of business. This podcast and all our previous and future episodes are for educational purposes only. They don't take the place of your doctor's advice. And now jumping right in. We have spoken before. There's lots of information on there on how the mind can affect health. We know that stress can be a big player on disease states, worsening disease, worsening immunity, increasing inflammation. It's the trigger for many disease states. It can be a trigger for flares. That is already old news. We know that mindfulness, that being in a happy place, a joyous place, a balanced place, can create health in our bodies. We can achieve that through meditation, through other mindful practices. How does that actually happen? And one of the ways that's really exciting is through genetics. Like, it seems crazy because we used to think that our DNA that we get from our parents, which is a molecule that has a lot of material, many of which we still don't know exactly what it does. That's the code for everything in our body. Is the code for our personality, for the way we look, how smart we are, for our health, our disease. It's all coded in there. But we recently have learned that our DNA can actually be modified. And it can be modified through something called epigenetics, or basically means after genetics. And the way that we can do that is through the way we live our life. So healthy food can modify our genes for the good. Unhealthy food can modify our genes for the bad. Our thoughts, stress, really the way we live our life can actually modify our DNA. It's a crazy thought. It's really crazy because many people think, we're born with a certain genes. And, if we test it, sometimes people test their DNA when they feel like either good or they feel maybe they're doomed. But we can modify our DNA through epigenetics by living a good life, by living a happy life, by living a healthy life. Well, I'm going to tell you a few amazing studies. First of all, we probably have heard of people talking about generational traumas. We see this, we've heard this after the Holocaust, that sometimes children and grandchildren of Holocaust survivors have kind of fears related to traumas that they really never experienced, but their grandparents had experienced. We see that in the inner cities, in lower socioeconomic classes where they're exposed to violence, poverty, really those kind of traumas also. Sometimes the children, the grandchildren who may not have been exposed to that are seeing that. And it's kind of like generational trauma. How can we explain that? So there's a really interesting study that was done on mice. So what they did with mice is they had them smell this compound called acetophenone, and every time they smelled it, they shocked the mouse. So they did that a number of times until the mouse began to fear the smell because the smell was conditioned. They were conditioned to fear the smell because it was associated with a shock. So then the mice began to fear the smell. Then they bred those mice, and they had children and grandchildren, so 1 and 2 generations. And they noticed something. They noticed that the mice who were exposed to this shock and compound smell of acetophenone, those mice had a modification in their DNA. And they passed that modification in their DNA to their children and the grandchildren. And their grandchildren, who never got shocked and who never had that association of shock and the smell of this compound, also began to fear the compound. So in a sense, those fears were passed down generationally through modification of their DNA. Amazing. So now we actually have an explanation of the way that this could actually happen in real life with people. And it also gives us a very clear idea of the power of the mind, of the power of our experiences. How can we use that in a positive way? We know that meditation is also very powerful. And meditation can also change our disease state to a state of health. For example, it's been shown to help with high blood pressure and immunity and inflammation, heart disease. But how? A very interesting study that was done in University of Florida by Dr. Chandan. He basically looked at about 100 people who underwent this retreat. The retreat was for 8 days, and during those 8 days, the people meditated for 10 hours. So it was a very intense retreat. They took a number of DNA samples from these people before and after, and they noticed that compared to their DNA from before the retreat, they had activation of 220 genes, some of which were implicated in improved immunity, in improved viral immunity, in improved finding of cancer cells, because we know that the immune system has many functions. Bacteria, viruses, it scavenges for cancer cells. So it showed that these genes that are associated with this function have been activated after meditation. So how do we meditate to achieve a great result in our health? And this is really important. And I've said this before, and I'm going to say it again. No one's great at meditating from birth. It's a skill that we can develop. Some people are going to develop it faster, and some people are going to develop it slower, just like any other skill. But it's practice. It's practice and focus. It's practice in endurance. So how do I do it? For example, every morning, almost without fail, I create about 30 to 40 minutes of time in my morning, non-negotiable time. Not if I have time, I make time. I get into a comfortable place. Now that could be different for you and for me. Some people like sitting position. I like to lay down. It's really personal what works for you. It can work for you to be on a sofa, on a bed. You want to create a nice environment. I like to put on my diffuser to have a good aroma, use different essential oils. I like rose oil. I like lavender. You can do whatever works for you. I make sure the room is dark, and I like to do it actually before the sun is up. So 5:30 in the morning, 5 in the morning, really early. You don't have to do this. You don't have to do this. I feel it helps me stay focused because I know nothing else is going on right now. I don't have to worry about anything at the time. I don't have to worry about my phone. I don't have to worry about work. And I get into my space and I meditate. Now, what do you start with? You start with whatever you can handle. Is it 1 minute? Is it 2 minutes? Whatever you can handle is better than nothing. So if you start with 1 minute, the next day is 2 minutes, 3 minutes, etc. You will build the muscle. You will build the muscle. Just like working out, when you first start working out, you don't see the benefits right away. Your body doesn't change right away. You don't see the health benefits right away. You have to work up to it. You have to work up to it, and you need patience. Patience is really, really important. The question is, where do you start? And there's so many different things we can do. So much. There's visualization, there's mantras. I'm going to start one with you today. One of my favorites for your health. Just a place to start. We're going to just do this for a few minutes, and you can use this as a starting point. You can take it anywhere you want. You can make it whatever you want. You can expand on it. You can do it for hours. You can do it for a couple of minutes. It is important that this time that you do it is dedicated. And I have some patients that tell me, okay, yeah, I meditate like when my kids are, I'm halfway with my kids. They're kind of falling asleep, but they're not. I'm focused on them. And this is like when I meditate for 3 minutes. That's not really focused enough. We need to really be internal. So whatever time you can dedicate, you start with that time. So I'm going to give you a quick couple of minutes just to start. And we'll do more another time. If you are in a comfortable place, take a few breaths. I recommend starting breathing in your nose all the way, holding it for a few seconds, holding it as long as it's comfortable, then slowly exhaling out of your mouth, like blowing out a candle. So inhale through your nose, hold it for a few seconds, and exhale out of your mouth. Hold this for a few seconds. Do a few deep breaths just to get into the mode. Get in the mode. And even when you're breathing, you can already start some mindful process as you're breathing in light. As you hold it, the light expands throughout your body. As you exhale stress, inflammation, disease, anything you don't want. And you can already start even pre-meditating, meditate. Now you're into it. So now you're into it. Close your eyes. And you visualize the most pure, clean, bright, white light that's above you. You see that beautiful light going into your body through the top of your head, going slowly. For those of you who know anatomy, for those of you who don't, it's okay. Your scalp, your skull, your brain, down into your head, through your face, your eyes, your nose, your mouth, and extending down into your neck. That light goes into your chest, filling up your whole chest cavity, including your heart, your lungs. Goes through your entire upper thoracic area, your back, your shoulders, and your arms. Continues down through your abdomen, filling up all the beautiful organs in your abdomen, stomach, liver, intestines, kidneys, going into your pelvis, bladder, reproductive organs, and all the way down to your legs and your feet. This light is a powerful, clean, pure white light, and everywhere this light goes, disease does not exist. Inflammation does not exist. This light is a balancing, completely healing light. And we can use this meditation to direct it, especially in places where we need it most. So if someone's having an issue with their stomach, you can spend some time specifically on that stomach, and they can see that light going through the entire stomach, inside the cavity, through the walls, extending out all the way, focusing on whatever area you need. And you could do this for 5-10 minutes if you have, and you could do this for an hour or hours, and really there's no limit, because the more you do it, the easier it's going to be to get really connected, to get really into it. It does take time. So if you're just starting, it might take you a while before you really get to that zone. And when you get there, you'll know. In the beginning, you're relaxing. But when you get into it, you're changing your vibrational state. This is where the power comes in. And it takes time and patience. And don't be frustrated if you don't get it in a week or even a month. But when you get there, you're going to be unstoppable. It's really a game changer for health, vitality, balance, healing, you name it. I hope you guys try this at home. It's really one of my favorites. I use it with my patients. I use it on myself, my family. It's a game changer. It really is. Stay healthy, stay gutsy. Please find us on wholegut.com, WHOLEGUT.com. And we have lots of great content about mindfulness. We work with a lot of mindfulness at Whole Gut. And I hope to see you all next week.